Everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Learning Python series. In this episode we're going to be talking about strings. So strings are a data type in Python, and you've worked with strings before in the last couple of episodes, and strings are absolutely everywhere, and they're not just exclusive to Python. You'll see strings in every programming language. So a string is just a string of characters, and in Python we wrap a string or enclose a string in a set of quotes, single quotes or double quotes. There are some exceptions which we're going to cover in this video, but typically that's how you will see them. So let's jump into some examples. So here we are. I've got a Python file called strings.py, and I've got our terminal open in the same directory. So creating a string. So we can create a string with single quotes. So let's create a new variable, and we will create a set of single quotes here, and inside the quotes is where we write our string. So awesome, we've got a string there with a set of single quotes, but we could also use double quotes, which is just as awesome. Again, open and close the string with a set of double quotes. Python sees these two as exactly the same. It doesn't care what kind of quotes you use, single or doubles, it's all the same to Python. However, you cannot mix the two. So for example, you could not open with a double quote and try and close with a single quote, because you will get an error. So if we try and run Python strings.py, let's take a look at our error. We get a syntax error, and that's because we've tried to mix the two, which you cannot do. So again, nothing enforced, it's entirely up to you. I would recommend using double quotes because you will see why very shortly. So strings don't have to just be letters, alphabetical letters, they can be absolutely anything. So for example, we could create a set of integers or some integer values wrapped inside of quotation marks. It's still a string, even though we are the content of the string is just numbers. For example, the exact same thing with floats or decimal points. So 3.14, exactly the same. It's still just a string. We can mix uppercase letters, lowercase letters, non-alphanumeric characters. I won't bore you to death going through all of them, but we can mix any kind of character within a string. But there are some exceptions, which we are going to cover now in string escapes. So an escape is a special character that's used to induce or create some kind of different behavior in the string, or for Python to evaluate the string in a slightly different way. So a good way to illustrate this is, let's create a new variable called broken string, and I'm going to open and close it with single quotes, and let's write something inside. How's about that? What's going on? Looks like a bit crazy, right? What's happening here? So what's happened is we've tried to use a single quote inside of a string that we've opened and closed with single quotes. And what's happening here is Python will see this inner quote and it will close the string. It will see that as the closing quote of the string, leaving everything here outside of our string. So if we try and save that, we try and run the file, you can see here we get an invalid syntax error. And that's because, again, we've used a single quote inside of a string that we've created with single quotes. So how do we go and fix this? Well, let me just copy that. We keep the exact same string, the same variable. What we'll do, we're going to use an escape character, and the escape character is the backslash. So we just put the backslash before our before the character that we want to escape. In our case, it's this inner quote, and it just tells Python to evaluate the string differently. It says, okay, here I'm in escape. whatever comes after me is meant to be there, so leave it there. So now if we were to print our broken string, what's happened there? Print broken string, there we go, we get our string, how's about that, with our inner quote like we designed. So that's how you use the backslash character, the kind of escape character, to include something in your string that Python may have thrown an error. So let's go ahead, we don't need that print there. It's not just for single cases of, you know, like we've got here, we've just got the one inside. We could do another one, another string, and we'll use single quotes again, and let's go out, it's nice. So let's close that string. So you can see here now we've got two occurrences of our inner quote, and we can just do the exact same thing and put our backslash character just before these inner quotes. And if we were to print our another string, I don't know why it keeps putting it on an indented line there, but there we go. Let's go outside, it's nice. So this principle works exactly the same for double quotes. So let's create another variable here, and again I'll just call it quote for now. So we'll use double quotes, and this create another set of quotes inside is a quote inside a string. You can see here Python thinks we're trying to close a string, so let's go and escape that one and escape that one. And if we save, let me clear this, and we'll do python strings.py. No errors, we haven't printed it, but we can. I'll stop doing that. Print our quote, there we go. We get our string with our inner set of double quotes just like we wanted. So the backslash character here, you couldn't use it, for example, in this scenario. Message, we'll use double quotes again. We need to escape. If you needed to include a backslash here at the end of the string, well, what's going to happen now if we try and run that file? You can see here we get this EOL syntax error again. And that's because we effectively here escaping the closing quotation. So what we need to do is escape our escape character. We need to escape the backslash. So we do that by adding just another backslash before the backslash that we want to include in our string. So now if we try and run that, no errors, and if we print our message, we need to escape, and we get our backslash character there. And if we were to take that out and put a backslash in the middle of our string and print that, you can see that's still included, and that's because we haven't tried to put our escape in front of any characters or anything that Python thinks that we want to escape from the string. So that covers it for just the use of the single backslash here to escape certain characters. However, escapes are more than just escaping certain characters like quotations. Escapes are a way to add extra functionality to a string, but like I said, it's more to just make Python evaluate the string differently. So let me explain. So I'll just put more escapes. So for example, I think the best way is with a demonstration. So we'll create a new variable here called new line, and I'm going to do split \n me \n up, and then what we'll do, we'll print it and then we'll talk about it. And if you haven't guessed by the variable name what the \n does, you are about to find out. So let's go ahead and run this. You can see here it's split up the words in our string and put them on new lines. So the \n character will create a new line in the string, and then it will be printed, it will be evaluated with the new line. So these are the ASCII escape characters. So I'll throw a link in the description actually, and you can go ahead and have a look at the end of this video of all the different escapes that you can use. But there are quite a few, I'm not going to cover them all in this video. So \n will create a new line. Let's go ahead and get rid of that print function for now. Another thing we can do is use the ASCII bell. It's kind of old school. A lot of these ASCII escapes and ASCII characters are related to old pieces of equipment, but they're still used all the time, especially characters like \n when you need to put a new line in a string. So a bell, for example, is the \a. And then what we can do is print bell, and I think it will work in this terminal. Oh no. Let me make sure my volume's up. Let me try in a different terminal quickly. So you can see that when we run the file and we print the bell variable here, which contains the \a, we get a ding dong. So if you need to create some kind of alert in a program, especially a, well, maybe just a command line program, then you may want to use the \a. Another one we can do is use the \b, which is going to be the backspace character. So we could do something like joined equals join, and then we'll do a space with a \b, me with a space, \b, and up. So we've got join me up spaced out with a \b just before the beginning of the following two words here. And if we were to print joined, let's go ahead and run that. You can see it's removed the spaces here because essentially it's just like hitting the backspace on a keyboard. So that's everything I'm going to cover for the different ASCII character escapes, but again I'll throw a link in the description where you can go and have a look. So multi-line strings. So sometimes we need to create a string that spans more than one line. And you've already seen, in fact, no you haven't, I didn't cover that. I probably should have covered this earlier, but for example, if we come back to the example of where we had our inner quote inside of a set of single quotes here, or if we want to use double quotes inside of a set of double quotes like so. Another way of getting round these errors is to use a set of triple quotes to open and close the string. So triple, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just make some space here so you can see what's going on. So this is, that's a bad example. Let's go outside is lovely. Lovely. So there we go. You can see we're not getting any errors here in our editor. So we've used a set of triple double quotes, and inside we've got our single quotes, which in fact wouldn't even make a difference. So let's go ahead and change these to triple single quotes. Oh, stop auto completing. So you can see there, using triple quotes, if we print triple, we're able to use any kind of inner quotes inside of a string if we use a set of triple quotes. And if we try and print this, there we go, let's go outside, it's lovely. And we've got a bit of space in there because we've left that in, but let's go ahead and remove that. Print again. So if you do need to use these and you don't want to use escapes and you don't want to use the double quotes, another way is by using triple single quotes. Oh, I've just black screened you guys. Sorry. And you could alternatively use a set of triple double quotes if you wanted to then, I don't know, let's do outside, let's wrap that in a set of double quotes. So there we go. We can see here we're using a mix of singles and doubles inside of our triple quoted string. But this isn't multi-line, I know, it's just something I forgot to cover. So multi-line strings, sometimes we need to write a string that spans more than one line. So let's create a new variable here called multi, and I'll use double quotes, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to span a string over a couple of lines. So in fact, let's start up here. Multi-line string. And if we print multi, let's see how it looks. So you can see here, we've got our string split across multiple lines here. And the thing with using these multi-line strings is, well, again, for example, we could change this to singles. Oh, stop it, VS Code. We could change it to triple single quotes and we get the exact same result. It's exactly the same. But one thing you might notice here is that we're kind of, in fact, no, it's not, that's just my terminal. But the interesting thing about multi-line strings is that they include anything inside the string, including spaces, tabs, new lines. So let's go ahead and create, let's just use, we'll change this to preserved because I want to illustrate how it preserves the everything you put inside of this string. So let's make some space. This, we'll do a tab is another tab preserved. And if we go ahead and print if we print preserved, let's see how it looks. You can see we've got all this space around it. We've got our tabs, we've got our new lines. So, if you want to do some kind of artwork, you can use multi-line strings. You can do all sorts of cool artwork using the character set artwork, which is pretty cool. So that's a thing to note with multi-line strings is that new lines, spaces, everything will be preserved. Another way you can create a multi-line string is by using the / character. And let's do an example and then we'll explain it after. So I'm going to create a variable here called x. It's not a descriptive variable name, I know, guys, please don't hate me. So splitting, we'll use the / up space / a space / and finally string. So we're using the / here at the end of the line and jumping down to a new line. And on every new line that we want to create, at the end of it, we put a /. And now if we print x, see how it looks, we just get a single string. So using the / doesn't preserve, or it doesn't put anything on new lines. It's just going to interpret this string here all as one long string. You may, well, in fact, you will see multi-line strings like this used as doc strings. And we haven't covered functions yet, but a doc string is used to code or comment into your code what a function does. So for example, if we were to create a function here called add, I know we haven't covered functions yet, maybe just put x and y, and it will return x plus y. That will do. So a docstring you will see typically used just below the function declaration here, and it will look a bit like this. So multi-line strings can be used as comments and are commonly used as comments. So you might see something like returns x plus y. Terrible docstring, but there's really not much to write about this function. So typically a docstring here is just used to provide some information about the function, how to use it, what it does, maybe what kind of arguments it takes, and maybe what it returns. So that's another time you will see these multi-line strings used. So the last couple of things we will cover are comments. So you guys have seen me using comments throughout this series, and a comment starts with a single hash followed by your comment. So for example, if we were to create a new variable here, x345, we could put a comment above it if you really needed to. Obviously, a better idea would be to give x a descriptive variable name, which you guys learned all about in the last episode. So you could create a comment here above. You could also cut that out and put a comment after. And Python is just going to ignore comments. It will see them, it won't do anything with them, it will just completely ignore them. And the best practice, if you do want to put a comment in line here with some actual Python code, is to leave 2 spaces after the Python and then your comment. So that's just a kind of best practice thing. But obviously comments cannot span multiple lines just by using the single hash here. So, you know, for example, multi, as soon as we come to the next line, you can see here it's no longer green, and that's just our editor doing this for us. So we would have to do something like, if we wanted to write multi-line comment, we would have to do something like this. However, what we can do is use the triple quotes, just like you've seen before. So we can make a multi-line comment here. Let's just span that out, and we can do this is multi-lines blah 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 blah. So you can do whatever you want inside of a multi-line comment, and Python is just going to ignore it. So multi-line comment, and Python will totally flat out ignore this. And if we save that, run our file, you can see we don't get any errors, and that's because this is a comment which is completely ignored by Python. So that covers everything for this first part of strings. Now there are quite a lot of things to cover with strings. We've got some useful built-in functions that we're going to cover in the next episode. And we're also going to cover string formatting or string interpolation, where we can insert or inject variables or values or even logic inside of a string. But that's for another video. That's going to be in 2 videos time. There's other things we're going to cover, like raw strings, string prefixes, and all sorts of other things to do with strings, which you guys are going to learn about shortly. So I hope you enjoyed. If you got any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below, and feel free to subscribe. Plenty more videos coming in this series. So I will see you in the next one.